Welcome to Why Israel Meet and Greet. This is Kati Doron. She is in Israel right now and works for Maoz and an incredible initiative called I Stand with Israel. So, Kati, tell us, how did you get involved in Maoz?
Yes, first of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm very honored. I heard about this specific congregation that they are only Hebrew speakers. I mean, everything happens in Hebrew. So I was very curious to see it, and from the first time, I felt totally at home. Totally at home. It felt so natural, so Israeli, very warm, very welcoming congregation. And so I started joining the weekly meetings every week, and it was a great joy. And within the time, actually in few months, I was invited to work for Maoz Israel, but I was not aware of them at all before that. I want to tell you a little short story. Ari and Shira Sorkova, they invited me actually to visit them at their home. And what happened was that I saw members of Tiferet Yeshua coming from every hole, every room. And what's going on here? They made me a tour in the house. There was actually the book publishing department on the basement, and people working for books and for this and that everywhere in the house. And it felt to me like this is a secret kingdom of God upon the earth. And literally, I didn't feel the ground under my feet, I think, for 3 days.
Oh, beautiful.
I was really just in awe about what I saw and all that. And I was invited to work for them. I started to work for them 16 years ago as the congregational secretary. During the years, my job has changed many times. Most of the time, I have been the personal assistant to Ari and Shira, which has brought me to a situation that I've been in touch with all the local Messianic leaders, many people internationally. I have been a part of organizing leadership conferences to the local Messianic leaders, which has been a huge blessing. It has been really touching to see Russian speakers, Amharic speakers, Hebrew speakers, English speakers, whoever has come back to her land from all around the world. And to see these leaders, some of them very new, come and get the leadership tools and learn. There's such a unity and love, and wow.
Great. Tell us about I Stand with Israel.
Maoz Israel's benevolence fund, which is called I Stand with Israel. It was started in 2002 to help the local believers. Today, I Stand with Israel has donated over $7 million to believers all around the land. You see, in Israel, salaries in general are lower than, for example, in England or Europe, in America, but the cost of living is higher. The average Israeli finds it more difficult to end this month than people in many other countries, not to speak of new immigrants and all kinds of difficult situations. So I Stand with Israel board works with about 90 different congregations in Israel. I'm the coordinator for this thing. So I'm in touch with all the congregational leaders and with the actual recipients of donations, and they need to prove the need. Then we have a board who very carefully checks them. Very many people have been blessed. I Stand with Israel likes to help people with needs that will change their lives for a longer period of time. Yes, we do help people in urgent needs, because oftentimes people can be in situations that they can't pay the rent, they can't pay the electricity, things like that. But I Stand with Israel prefers to help people that will change their lives for a longer term. For example, we like to help people to study a profession, or perhaps to help young families to get together key money to purchase an apartment, because the rent payments in Israel are very high. And instead of just paying every month rent and not getting anything in return, it is safer to actually own a house So this is something that I Stand with Israel also has helped. Or we have helped people to start small businesses, perhaps buying a vehicle for a business, and many kinds of help. And everything is really going through congregational leaders, so it's pretty well organized and in a good order.
What are some of the ways that I Stand helps to serve the purposes of Maoz in Israel?
As you know, Maoz means strength, and I Stand with Israel is part of Maoz Israel's ministries to make believers strong in Israel. So it fits very well into the vision of Maoz.
Can you just tell us a few stories of how Maoz is helping people through I Stand with Israel there in the land?
The first one I picked up is a young couple who have two babies actually. During the Corona time, they both lost their jobs. A real hard hit to the family. However, the wife was at the time studying to become an accountant. She found a work in another city, and for that purpose, they needed to move, and they needed furniture. And I Stand with Israel stepped into that picture and actually helped them to move and helped them to have furniture and advice, for wise spending. And I happened to speak with the husband a few days ago, and he was so happy. He said, "Wow, you won't believe. My wife has so excellent work and I have found a job. And this change has totally given us a new start. And thank you so much." I mean, this was a real new beginning for a young family. And another story, actually about two single moms from a congregation in the north of Israel. The fathers are not at all in picture, and they have bar mitzvah aged sons. These boys are without fathers, and the mothers they earn a very low salary. However, they wanted to give a special time for their boys to mark this special occasion. So their congregation actually stepped in, or their leader and some other fathers of that congregation, they started to teach these boys everything towards the bar mitzvah ceremony. But on top of that, they started weekly to share time with the boys, kind of a, guy thing, men's thing. And then the congregational leader wanted to take these boys to a few days, I don't know where they went, somewhere in Israel.
Yeah, adventure.
He actually spent 3 days with the boys, but the mothers didn't have money to cover it. So he turned to I Stand with Israel, and I Stand with Israel board lovingly gave help to these mothers, and their boys had a fantastic time to celebrate their bar mitzvah.
Beautiful.
And there's a beautiful story of a young Israeli Sabra-born guy from a traditional Jewish home whose nephew, he was maybe 5 years old at the time, he got sick with cancer. And there was no hope for this little boy until God miraculously healed him. He was prayed for and he was healed. So this young man came to faith in Yeshua, his Messiah. He is a professional chef, and he got some experience in other people's restaurants, but finally he wanted to start his own place. So actually he started a health food place in a very busy place. It's a beautiful story, absolutely a beautiful story. And I don't know how many lives I Stand with Israel's help has really changed and supported and helped in Israel, but they are many. This is something that Yeshua actually said in John 13, 34, 35. He said, "A new command I give to you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this love, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." I just want to thank all those amazing people in the UK who have been giving to I Stand with Israel, and we do not take it for granted. Together we can do so much.
You're already doing some great work, and obviously we want to have more donors, we want to have more people giving, and that's really clear through the Maoz website. Can you think of other ways that we could be praying and things that we can do to help you?
What just comes to my mind is, first of all, to pray. There is much power in the name of Yeshua, in the blood of Yeshua. There is so much power. And of course, from the practical point of view, if you are led to give donations, you can go to Maoz Israel website, and from there to see what we do, and you can go into I Stand with Israel, and there's a place where you can find how to donate.
Yeah, you're doing a great job, Kati. We just pray God's blessing upon you and the whole team as you continue to be our boots on the ground, as we like to say. If you want to hear more stories from Kati and maybe even ask her some questions yourself, we are going to have her as one of our guests on the next Why Israel event happening on the 23rd of June. And we're also going to have, hopefully, Birgitta from the Fellowship of Artists, and she'll be there talking and answering questions about that as well. But for now, thank you very much, Kati, and we will see you on the 23rd.
You are so welcome. Shalom from Tel Aviv.
Shalom.
Tel Aviv in the background.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that sky. Oh.